Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today on Cookiecast, it's our wrestling podcast, Getting Over. Stuart Woodmansey made the trip over, and we're joined by host Paul Williams, and it's all about Survivor Series and War Games today, kids. So here we go. This is Cookiecast, Getting Over. Reverse things up a bit. Really mix it up. just give it.
Make sure you shine it up.
What's that you got there?
Oh, I'll be shining it up, right?
What's that you got there?
Boys worry. Just put it right.
He's presenting it, apparently.
Presenting
Presenting.
is not the word I would have used for that motion, but
Presenting.
You should do that. You should,
like
in fact, you should do the podcast entry because you can just do it by pointing to the different bits.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Presents, which doesn't work for an audio perspective. So for you audio listeners, welcome to Cookiecast Presents Getting Over.
A little bit of sign language for the video viewers. Just viewers.
I am your facilitator.
and let's not forget
And reigning and defending.
Cookiecast.
Cookiecast pay-per-view champion. Champion.
And the good news for you
Le
is
champion.
because of the interim we did last time with no predictions and no results to give at this stage.
I was worried. I was like, I don't remember predicting anything.
Technically, the first man to retain. Oh, we all know they love it. First ever man to retain.
First ever man to retain
the title.
Doesn't count. Doesn't count because he didn't have to face anybody.
I'm going to count it, obviously.
Oh, obviously. Of course.
Well, we've got quite a bit to get through. Welcome along for those that are watching as well. Obviously,
For those of you who,
as he said, Andy's here.
if this is your first time,
Oh,
you're in for
what
a treat.
What an episode to jump
yes.
in on.
As
Imagine it being your
Stuart
first
said,
time.
he is here.
I'm here.
Obviously,
Host
I'm here.
Paul Williams is here.
And myself, Stuart Woodmansey, back once again with some more wrestling goodness. For regular listeners, you might realise that Matt's not with us this time around. Matt is gonna submit some predictions for us when we get to that point.
He's not even on the phone.
No, he's not on the phone. Never mind. He'll be right. He'll be back.
He will be back.
He's gonna
with
make
a vengeance.
He's gonna make a grand return and then heel turn at the end, obviously, as is standard. So yeah, we've had quite a lot happen since last time. We didn't do a podcast to cover Crown Jewel, but there are some things coming out of Crown Jewel that we just need to mention briefly.
We'll be mentioning, alright.
So let's start with the least relevant of those. That Tyson Fury made his WWE debut and beat Braun Strowman by count out. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
But was it technically knockout?
Yeah,
That's what they've given out.
So it wasn't a boxing match. It was an actual wrestling match. Which was the first thing I was surprised about. But yeah.
The one thing I'm not surprised about, which has happened since, is that in an interview for a boxing channel in America, Deontay Wilder has now said that he's open to the idea of doing something with the WWE.
Honestly, did you see the match?
I didn't watch it when it was on. I haven't watched the full pay-per-view because I am of the persuasion that I'm not. But I have seen the highlights that were then on YouTube and stuff.
I think that's how I probably saw it. It was awful.
It was a bit like what happens if you take somebody who's never done it before, give them about 3 weeks training, and then say, have them $8 million and go on national television. Is kind of what it was a bit like.
Terrible.
I watched it whilst semi-asleep.
I'm pleased you finished that sentence.
So I was drifting in and out, but I didn't think it was that bad. To say he was a guy who'd never done it before, obviously he's used to just going in and just caving people's faces in. I don't think he did too bad.
I mean, it was always going the way of they were going to play to his strengths.
Yeah.
They did that. It is what it is. It's in the history books. I think the more surprising thing for me was your mate Brock. So, I will get his name right this time as well. Against Kim Velasquez for the WWE title. So all the history, all the build that they could have had showing all the UFC stuff for the last 10 years, whatever it's been. And Brock beats him in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. With a submission.
Yeah, that I didn't get that. Did not get that at all.
Velasquez has not been seen since.
I'm sure his bank's the worst for him.
I don't know if I've made this up. But wasn't there stuff that was coming out that said that he did a few dark matches for him under a mask?
No, he wrestled in Mexico for a while under a mask.
Right,
he has actually been wrestling.
I imagine it's quite hard for him to do that though, because obviously he's got very distinctive tattoos.
And the fact he's an absolute unit.
Well, yeah, he's a bit of a fat lad, isn't he? But you know, obviously I'd never say it to his face because he would legitimately kill me.
Or just put a nice leotard on.
Unitard?
Yeah, probably.
What'd you call me?
Chance of being
Can't use that word.
Well,
so we had that. It was over too quickly for me. Insert your own. That's what she said here.
I mean, how many? That's what she said. Are we allowed?
Well, you just said insert, so
because that's what she said.
So swiftly moving on.
No, that's what
Probably what was the most actual moment of importance in the whole thing was that they actually had a women's match.
Oh, yeah, to be fair, yeah.
Never been allowed to have a women's match in Saudi before, and that honour fell to Natalia and Lacey Evans. Go on.
There was rumours that it was supposed to be somebody else, but when they found out she wasn't married, they were like, no.
I've not seen that.
I think there was rumours it was supposed to be Alexa Bliss.
Well, last year it was going to be Alexa, and then they called it off last minute. I think it was supposed to be Alexa and Natalia last time around. Say last year, it wasn't last year, it was earlier this year when it went over. But yeah, they wrestled in their... they weren't allowed to wear their normal ring gear, as expected, so they were covered to the wrists, and they just had a t-shirt on, which I presume was for cleavage purposes. But it's a step in the right direction. It is what it is.
It's pushing the envelope. It's opening the door, so to speak. How many different phrases you want to use, I suppose.
I know it's the bit that the company will run and it's the message that they send and stuff, but the match wasn't the important bit to me. It was the reaction that they both got, and especially going around the ring afterwards with like the young girls and stuff that were in attendance. It kind of gives them a bit more hope for the future, I think, so that's good.
Definitely.
And then, not obviously as important as that, but storyline-wise, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, has now won the Universal title from Seth Rollins.
That'll be the red Universal title that the SmackDown guy, that is predominantly a blue brand, won.
That's right. And you've seen what's happened next. It's not the Universal title anymore.
The Blue Universal
title. The Blue Universal title. Obviously not the official name, but that's instantly
Don't you worry
what
about
it
Andrew, because I know what you're thinking, and you're thinking there, but Paul, I've had a look on www.shop.com, and there's only the red Universal title available to buy.
Correct.
Don't you worry, Andrew. I'm sure that will be rectified within the next 85 seconds or so.
I believe it was on WWE Shop within 45 minutes of SmackDown finishing. It might even have been sooner than that. So,
listen, I know what you're thinking. And no, that company is not all about just making money.
WWE have been called for a lot of things, but slouching over marketing is not one of them. So we've had the build for Survivor Series really started from that point, not just because of the title change, but because depending which side of the stories you believe, there was either mechanical issues or a hostage situation on the way back to America. The guys who were headed to Friday Night SmackDown shockingly didn't make it halfway across the world within the probably 12 hours they had to fly back.
Yeah, I mean, whoever, obviously we know why they agreed to it, because, more money than you can ever, probably more money than the average human can ever comprehend was thrown at the company. But, I mean, it was 3 weeks after SmackDown had debuted?
Yeah, it wasn't that long, was it?
I can't imagine Fox were happy about it. Although in the end...
They got an absolute peach of that.
Yeah.
And it's probably been even better because they got the NXT invasion, is what they got. The few guys that had stayed behind, so Daniel Bryan, Miz, I think was on there. We got Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan for the NXT title as a main event, which was there'll be a few indie fans
Bruce
absolutely
Pritchard.
dreaming about that, so that was good. But I imagine that USA were pretty happy as well because
Fox.
Well, both, because USA got their show
same.
promoted for free, essentially.
Oh, yeah, I always forget NXT's on USA.
But yeah, so Survivor Series has now morphed into, for the first time ever, don't forget the first time ever, NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown for brand supremacy, which this week 3 wrestlers have been out in public saying they don't give a monkey's about, so I'm sure that's working out well for you.
Who said that?
I say wrestlers, use that loosely. Corey Graves put it out on their official communication channel.
Can't see that going down well. Unless it's part of the story.
It was talked about on WWE Backstage, which is the thing that we still can't get on actual TV over here, and I definitely didn't watch it online completely appropriately.
Legitimately.
Completely legitimate DVD copy of the show that you watched.
Which... I say wrestlers, that's got Booker T, it had Paige.
Don't do it.
It had
Don't do it.
Renee Young.
He's not gonna blow his load that quick.
It had Ember Moon, and it had somebody else that talked all about it. So, there's a few on there. We've also, since the last time we were out, we've also had an AEW pay-per-view, Full Gear. The main thing is Paul's absolute favourite, Le Champion, retained against Cody Rhodes.
Due to...
How does he fit all the wrestling in between his
T-shirt printing business?
on stage appearances?
His mates' parties.
Best friends.
They really are, they're everywhere together.
They are. Aren't they? They are super besties.
Proper in each other's pockets and stuff.
Yeah.
Is it I might be a massive cynic, but there's not a film due out anytime soon. That they've all been in together.
I don't think so.
Well, didn't you say something along the lines of the first time they met up, Kevin Smith said to him,
"From this point on, every film I make, you will be in." Yes.
And so far,
so far, he has stuck to his word.
What was Chris Jericho's counter offer? I'll be your friend. You get to touch.
He's going to get another title.
You get to touch the bell.
I think he got some free tickets to a AEW show.
Not bad.
We had an MJF heel turn as well.
I was going to say that the reason that Chris Jericho was able to retain was due to the heel turn that no one saw coming from nowhere.
It was the exact opposite of an RKO out of nowhere, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was basically MJF had been for the past 6 months saying that Cody Rhodes is his best friend and stuff like that, and that he treasures no one more than Cody Rhodes.
A guy who essentially has been a babyface for the last however many months, using the catchphrase that he is better than you to everybody they will tell. Definitely wasn't coming. But anyway, it is what it is. That's kind of the main stuff coming out of that. We have also, a few members of the podcast have had a little trip out to see NXT UK being filmed live in my hometown. So no spoilers in terms of results, but everything that was taped was from now right up until about the 12th of January when it was announced that there is going to be Blackpool Takeover 2. Tickets for that sold out within 2 hours, so that's pretty good, pretty solid. Pleased with that because it means they might actually keep doing it. And it was a decent weekend, wasn't it?
It was alright, it was good. It was nice.
I think they could have done with a few more people in attendance live.
Yeah, it would have been if they'd have gone out and sort of papered the schools maybe or something like that to get a few more kids in maybe. That probably would have been I think that's what you'd imagine the marketing department might sort of think to do next time. Like if they go to this, I don't know why they wouldn't do that anyway. To be honest with you, because that's a bit of a goodwill gesture and stuff like that. Probably gets more publicity for the company.
I think
as well.
they think they'll be big enough to fill it without that. But I think
potentially
last weekend kind of proved a bit of a misstep in that department because they closed off the top half of the arena.
I think they're still. I think the problem they're still probably thinking is that, fair enough, yes, it does have the WWE tag to it, but it is still a very new brand in the UK. There still needs to be more stuff to, like, so for example, one of the girls that I work with is a big wrestling fan, but said that she wasn't even aware of the NXT UK brand. She said she was only just getting aware of the NXT brand.
Right.
So there's obviously still some work to do there, and she's a WWE fan. She's a network subscriber and stuff like that. So obviously there's not enough.
She's maybe just like every other normal person that doesn't have like 900 hours a day to watch all of the... But still, it was also been announced as well that we might even get a second trip out of this because they are staying local for the next set of TV tapings and it's coming to York.
First time ever.
First time ever.
Never heard that phrase.
So look out for tickets going on sale probably shortly after this podcast gets released.
Yeah.
So have a look around if you fancy going. There's the fact there's 2 pay-per-views to talk about coming up. There's
back to back
Takeover War Games this coming Saturday, and with Survivor Series implications for the following night. But anything else happen?
Very much looking forward to that match.
Anything else happened in the last couple of weeks? Any returns that anyone wants to talk about?
Oh, I didn't know if he was taking the piss there. I'd legitimately forgot about that already. So I'll. Do you know what? I'm going to open up the floor to this guy.
I can't think of anything that's happened in the last few. Any returns that don't make me insanely angry. Can't think of
Okay.
Sorry, I've got a bit of a Yankee dollar.
So
how big do you suppose the sack was?
I don't think it was a sack. I think it was they had to extend the just the end of the check.
It will have been like a bin lorry.
So unless you've been living under the rock, you might.
Well, that's where you'd be, wouldn't it?
Of course,
it's because you love that man.
Of course, because he always has to put himself over. CM Punk is back, sort of.
Would it
in
not?
a way?
Oh, I've got that taste in my mouth.
Would
again.
it not?
It'd been better if it hadn't have happened.
The whole point of WWE backstage, is it not that it's supposed to have like a real feel to it?
Yep.
It's
supposed to be rough.
So, would it not have made more sense for him to come out and said, "Hi, my name's Phil Brooks"? Would it not have made more sense for him have been Phil rather than CM Punk?
No, and I'll tell you why.
No, and here's why.
Because
you're wrong, and let me tell you.
No, everybody knows that's his real name. But within wrestling, within his all of 6 minutes in UFC, he was known as CM Punk. He didn't fight.
True. I suppose Booker T's still on there as Booker T. Paige is still on there as Paige.
Pretty sure there's an
Renee Young's not a real name.
Pretty sure there's an element of, did he not change his name to CM Punk so that they couldn't take it away from him?
I don't know. No, I think he's still Phil Brooks.
Well, either way, people know him as CM Punk, so yeah.
We'll let him have it.
Yeah. And
I mean, I agree with both.
I feel like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum to you about this. So what angers you about it?
Just the way it's gone from like each step of the process. Like he's like, I'm absolutely not returning to wrestling. It was a bad relationship. I'm better off without it. I'm doing other shit. You know, go and watch a movie that I made recently.
To be fair, the interview he did last night, apparently,
I watched that at dinner time.
He said something along the lines of, "I'm not looking to get back into the ring." But, and then obviously, like, you know.
But he said he's old enough to know to never say never, is what he said. To me.
So basically, what he's saying is, we're around just under 6 months out from WrestleMania. I see.
Or to phrase that another way, about 2 months away from the Rumble.
Isn't the Survivor Series? Is the Survivor Series in Chicago?
It is.
Huh. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought Paul would know where an event was taking place?
What time does it kick off? What will the temperature be?
In Chicago, fucking cold. Not only being there.
So yeah, we've got What makes you?
I just feel that it, like I say. So it started out with like, I'm definitely not going back to wrestling. They couldn't pay me the money that it would cost. It's a bad relationship, so on and so forth. Literally the next day, another video comes out where somebody says to him, so I've heard a rumour that there's this show where Booker T's doing all this stuff, and apparently you've been there.
So another thing that he covered in last night's interview, he's not employed by WWE. He's signed a contract with Fox.
So, this was the other thing. So, he was asked all these questions about whether he'd actually been at the wrestling, helping out. Weirdly, backstage is what he was asked. So whether that was supposedly some sort of inside clue, because they're like, oh, that horseshit. and he was like, yeah, it was me. Because they were expecting him to be like, no, I don't know anything about that, that's just a rumour. And he was like, no, that was me. Like, and obviously, the issue I personally have is that was the day after I said there's definitely no way that CM Punk's returning to wrestling.
You've been baileyed.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us, man, I'm telling you.
So I believe I text the group that we have with fucking CM Punk in capital letters that very moment. And I'd said, the moment the words left my mouth, I knew I was going to regret it.
I'm the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
It just feels dirty, it feels underhanded. It's this, oh, I'm not employed by WWE, I'm employed by Fox.
I love it.
What is your job, mate?
I love it because it's plain. It could be everybody being completely played here, because there's everybody knows the whole situation about he was fired on his wedding day and all that jazz.
See, I still don't think it was as cut and dry as that. He received his termination papers on his wedding day.
Yeah, so he got fired on his wedding day.
But is it being fired? Because obviously, like,
well, it wasn't like execution orders to kill him.
I thought he left.
He did.
He did.
He walked out, and obviously, like, his termination paper. This is why, like, he wasn't really fired. He was like, his release from the company was sent on his wedding day.
But it was almost like their part in shot, which kind of left a bad taste even further, which then aggravated everything else.
It was hilarious that I think it was the Stone Cold podcast, Vince McMahon actually came on that and said, "Oh, that was a I think he even put it down as a clerical error, and, like, you know, some unfortunate circumstance on our hands." CM Punk went on the podcast like the week after that and was like, bullshit. Are you telling me you don't know the day that if you issue something, it's going to land on this particular day? Come on. So yeah, that was interesting at the time.
So, I didn't see the whole episode of when he came back, because everything before the return, like, it is what it is. Adam Cole was on it, so I probably should have watched it. But anyway, Renee Young then introduces him, the music hits, and it was a tiny little video on my phone, and I then went out of my way to watch it, like, properly, and yeah, I had goosebumps about it. I was well happy to see that. And this week, when he's then done the sit down interview, and Paul said about him being employed by Fox, he's then gloating, and this is where it then starts to get blurry, and this is why I like it, because it's like, is what they're telling us all legit? Is it work? How's it going? And he said he's basically being paid by somebody else to critique WWE. It doesn't matter what he says. He can, if it's crap, he'll tell you it's crap. If it's good, he'll tell you it's good. And on that note, the first thing they asked him was, okay, so what have you seen in the last 5 years since you've not been here? What have you enjoyed? And he openly admitted he needs to get up to speed on it more. But the one thing that he has enjoyed has been seeing the women, like, come to the forefront, because obviously his wife was probably the kickstart really for all of this.
Well, they're a page, probably.
Give Divas a chance hashtag. But he did then go on to say that he'd like to see it evolve more organically rather than the revolution being shoved down everybody's throat, which I think a lot of people would agree with.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to end up wrestling, regardless of what he says. It's happening. It's just a matter of how.
Well, I think if he was being 100% honest, I think if someone said literally like you can't give any like sort of wishy washy. You have to give a yes or no answer. Have you wrestled your last match? He'd say no. I don't think he'd be able to say as an honest answer yes.
To kind of tie this back round again, how you were saying about it was probably not a large bag but a truck full. The episode of this week's WWE Backstage was him looking at his phone as if he's looking at his online banking, and he holds his phone up and he shows it to Renee Young and he says, "See that? All the zeros are there. It's in the account now." That's how it started. Sounded quite like
He's about to snap.
that. If for those of you watching on YouTube, the face that Andy's got right now is exactly how I feel when Paul starts going on about Baron Corbin.
Listen, that's the king. You need to be respectful, my friend.
Well, before we get as far as the king, we should probably get into the card for Takeover. As mentioned, Saturday night, the 23rd of November, Allstate Arena, Chicago.
Chicago, Illinois.
Two really big events for WWE in this year, emanating from the same arena that All In and All Out have come from. So Chicago have had an absolute peach of a time for getting some of the bigger shows.
Do they then shake it off?
I'm really hoping that next year, September, AEW pay-per-view is called
Shake It
All About.
Yeah, come on, get with the program. Come on.
We've currently, at time of recording, as was everything, all facts correct at time of recording, opinions of the contributors are their own. We've got 4 matches announced, but there is a hell of a lot of people on the card. We have the newly housed Finn Balor in his debut, if you like, or re-debut in NXT.
Re-debut.
Against
Andrew has a question. Yes,
Mr.
Andrew.
Matthew Riddle.
I presume this is going to be covered. But he's not the only rehoused superstar, I believe. I might be wrong, but I'm sure I saw a video about.
Ooh, not quite. Not yet.
This was a tease.
Yeah, so we've got Finn Balor, Matt Riddle, straight up singles match. We have.
When did that get announced? Because the last
last week,
he was in that match.
Yes, yeah. Riddle was originally part of the team match, but he was then moved out of that, and we've now got a space still to be announced as of recording. Who the last one could be? So we can get to who we think that might be as well. There is a number one
in Chicago.
Yes, absolutely not. There's a number one contenders match which has implications on Survivor Series the following night, because the winner of Pete Dunne versus Killian Dane versus Damian Priest should be an absolute belter. Will then face Adam Cole the following night for the NXT title on Survivor Series.
There's only one way that should finish, and I honestly think if it doesn't finish that way, the crowd in Chicago, which is a pretty meaty crowd anyway, probably won't be happy with it.
It's alright, they've got a good American football team, they're fine.
Shots fired. That's what I was going to say. Tying it in with the American football, have you noticed that there's adverts popping up in the Fox games for SmackDown all the fucking time?
There's currently 2 more matches that have been announced. There is a... Say it with me now, people. First time ever women's War Games match. 2 teams of 4. So Team Ripley is Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Tegan Nox and Mia Yim versus Team Baszler, Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, Bianca Belair and Kaylee Ray. Some weird inclusions in this match for me.
Yeah, I don't really understand why Kaylee Ray's in the match.
No, not sure either. And Shayna Baszler has 2 sort of MMA buddies, if you like, that followed her in, which are always with her, and Maria Schaefer and Jessamine Duke.
Marina Schaefer?
Yeah, Marina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why they're not in that match, because they're like...
Well, if they're in the match, how can they get involved in the match?
How can they get involved in the match when it's surrounded by steel?
No cage on that steel, though, is there? Because that was the way it was intended. Fucking...
Yeah, it's, again, a strange one. They've been creating a bit of tension here and there with people that should be in one team, people that might be in another, like people taking people's places. So that, in essence, as if it's not got enough people in it already, could end up being the entire NXT women's division in one place at one time. See how that turns out. And the men's War Games match is the Undisputed Era. So Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish versus Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic. Thank you for making me pronounce that on a podcast, you mothers. And one still to replace Matt Riddle's departure from that team.
So that will either be announced this, well, as is tonight on NXT, or will be left open for whomever wants to turn up in Chicago on Saturday.
Part of me thinks that they'll leave it until the night.
Probably.
Because it just adds a bit more to it. It feels like there's a lot of... Even though there are a lot of talent on the show, it feels like there's a lot of the NXT roster missing. The biggest gaping hole for me in all of this is where is the Velveteen Dream? Because prominent player... You'd have said Gargano, but he's injured now. So
Well, I was going to say, is that legit?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a legit injury. He's not injured.
He's not releasing a movie or his band's on tour.
No.
Okay.
You were so harsh against Woods there. Jesus Christ. What have you done? Ruptured his Achilles?
He's again, for a man that's self-professed computer games like nut. He just happens to get an injury around the time where most of the games in the period of the year are released, and he's got to sit off for 6 months playing them all.
Say that in front of him.
Well, it's like perfect. If that guy was ever going to get injured, that was a perfect time.
It's a great time of year for it to happen.
Anyway, predictions.
Godspeed, Xavier. You did well.
Let's go in the order that we announced it. So, Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle.
So, I know I might have mentioned this before, but I still don't get this Finn Balor thing. He's definitely winning.
Yep, I'm going with that too.
Definitely winning. But I'm still at a complete loss.
What, as to why he's gone?
And I know probably last time and potentially the time before we've had this conversation. I mean, like, where is the demon in all this?
Nowhere to be seen.
So what has happened there?
He's gone back as Finn, not as the demon. I
don't think you'll see the demon for a long time.
I would agree. I think that they're almost trying to bring him back to his old New Japan character of Prince Devitt. So they had him go back. He was like, happy-go-lucky Finn as he's been on TV as himself for the last however long. And then turned on Gargano, didn't he? Legit put stitches in him as well. It was a
brutal overhead kick.
I know that it comes up every time I go, why? And obviously he's had a life change. He's got married. He wants to be a bit more settled. But from a company perspective, from a marketing perspective, from the introduction of The Fiend, it doesn't make sense to me.
They've left money on the table for...
It's very much that was made for... And they could have done so much with it. They could have intertwined other people. They could have turned tag matches, all sorts of stuff. Like I say, there's piles and piles and piles of cash.
I think it's one of
sit
them
on the
though,
table there.
where you can only do it though if all parties are willing. And like you said about his life change, he's got married. The interview that I heard was again with Corey Graves, and it said, you know, how are you finding it? And he said, oh, the first thing, like laughing, he was like, oh, the schedule's great. Sure it is, mate, because you're just in the same place now once a week until it's takeover weekend. He obviously wants that lifestyle change, and I think at that point he'll be on a contract for however long, and it's better to kind of use his like name that he's built to try and bolster NXT than it is to just sit him and pay him for doing nothing.
It feels like bad business.
Mm.
It really does. And I'm sure a company like WWE could have worked with him, and by that I mean just paid him more money for whatever, or given him other perks elsewhere.
I wonder if there's something to he went up to the main roster, won the Universal Championship, but got injured doing it. Do you reckon he's like sort of like felt a bit snake bit since he went up there? And he's like trying to do this as like a sort of a career reset. So
sort of paraphrasing what I'd listened to of what he'd said, it was like he'd been on the main roster for 3 years, but he still felt like green, like the new guy, because he got this monumental push at the beginning, and then instantly got that injury that put him out. And at the time, he was still learning about sort of stuff that the way they have to do stuff for TV and like where the cameras are and all that sort of stuff. And he said he just felt like the new guy the whole time. And funny you should say that, unless you've listened to it, but he did mention reset.
Yeah, so, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like he wants to go back. He wants to sort of build himself back up again, and then if they decide that like they're going to do like every like after WrestleMania every year, they're going to have like a shuffle round of how the rosters fit, sit and stuff like that. Maybe like in a year, 2 years time, he'll have another go at like sort of moving up to the touring. But they're thinking of making NXT a touring brand.
We'll see.
Next year?
We'll see.
I'll say that's on the cards for next year, isn't it?
So, just...
But, I mean, I get that they have to take his wishes into account. But that's what I mean. A company like WWE, surely they just add a zero until they reach a number that...
Depends.
Dangerous precedent, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all the underpaid wrestlers are going to start coming out of the woodwork and being like, well, where's mine?
No, what I was going to say was if you start having people who say, oh, I've just got married, rather than moving around, like you're not having like a home base, I'd much rather... Because it could even be a case of he's just gone, I'd rather live in Florida, be based there and do NXT, and they've gone, well, if we do that, we'll have to cut your salary. It might even be that he's agreed, okay, that's fine. So you might have even taken a pay cut.
Can you imagine...
To go back down. Potentially.
One thing that we didn't mention, but imagine that Orton's just signed that new 5-year contract extension for whatever money it is that he's going to get paid, and then 3 weeks into it goes, and by the way, I want to go to NXT, not to the be at like...
Exactly. They wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Like if anyone else came to him and said any chance of a lighter schedule, because he's probably got the lightest schedule of the majority of the wrestlers that are there now.
Yeah, he's just been in that film, hasn't he? That Seth Green movie.
Orton.
Apparently, it's like a serious, like you'd expect, sort of like he would turn up in, I don't know, an action movie or maybe even a comedy, but it seems to be like a serious sort of role or something.
Interesting.
With all the talking about Balor to me in this match, and as you noticed, it has been, but it'd be remiss to kind of gloss over Matt Riddle, because he is definitely one of the up and comers, and is to me is the real deal. Needs to wind his attitude in a little bit if he's going to go far, but that's kind of, as a fan, what makes him cool and exciting to watch. So Andy's gone Balor, I've gone Balor purely because I'm going to use it. There is absolutely no way that he's going to lose, especially his re-debut.
I don't think he can afford to take a loss at this point.
No, I agree.
So, yeah, same for me.
You've gone Balor as well, right? Okay.
unless they have some form of Balor wins, but by Riddle wins, but by DQ.
Because he just goes full on badass.
Because he's getting the upper hand, and Balor just sort of snaps and hits him with something to sort of lose the match, but win the war. If that lose the battle, but win the war.
One good thing about the Demon going away is that if Balor's going to do this series character, we're not going to get any more blah promos. So there is that.
Just,
I know what you mean.
it's weird. It's really weird.
Moving on then, the number one contenders match. We're just gonna. I'm assuming Paul's gonna pick Killian Dane in this situation, right?
There's the dot.
Pete Dunne all round.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pete Dunne versus Adam Cole, that just screams. Give them 45 minutes.
Absolutely.
Let them do whatever they want.
Absolutely won't do that.
Obviously not, but seriously,
they
just let them. That could be your main event of Survivor Series, and no one would be disappointed with it.
I'll just be happy to see Dunne, because Dunne's put a lot of groundwork in for them, and it will feel a bit like he's gone through NXT, like main, if you like, a little quickly, but for all the groundwork he's done in building like the NXT UK with all the longest reigning UK champion stuff and all the rest of it,
I think as well.
I think he deserves a bit of a chance to shine.
No offence to the other two guys in the match, but from a perspective of the crowd in Chicago, the majority of the crowd in Chicago is going to know who he is. Whereas if it's the other two guys, they're going to be like, who the fuck is this guy?
Well, it's the guy from Sanity and Punishment Martinez.
Exactly. So, I mean,
Don't
get me wrong, that Damien Priest guy looked good.
Yeah.
Obviously, I never saw that one match that we went to go see a Ring of Honor in Doncaster. And I don't think he had a very long match there.
Wasn't he against, I want to say Luchasaurus, the guy who's in AEW, when he had the green mask and no shoes on?
Oh, maybe. But he looked massive compared to him. And I always thought Luchasaurus was quite big himself, unless Jungle Boy's just really small.
So, I have a funny feeling that when we do get the predictions from Mr. Moore,
It's going to be very similar.
It'd be very similar. So the first ever women's War Games match, are we going Team Ripley or Team Baszler?
Baszler. Straight off the bat.
I did think that.
But
if the other match goes the way I think it'll go, it's an awful lot of heel teams or heels winning matches, and they like to normally balance things out a bit.
do they?
Sometimes, and with it being first ever, it's normally you want that feel good feeling about the sort of the good guys prevail and stuff like that, and it's almost always in the War Games match that the heel team has the man advantage, which I think, shock horror, they're doing this.
Well,
that's what the briefcase was for.
Yes, NXT in the build-up did a ladder match, and the Io Shirai won the advantage for her team. So, based on how the War Games matches goes, basically she gets access to help sooner, doesn't she?
So 2 people start the match, 1 from each team. And then I think it's at 5-minute intervals, but they'll probably do it as 3 or something like that.
Have you seen a War Games match yet?
Really good.
You're in for a treat. It's where they put 2 rings together and they have one big cage over the 2 rings. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
So it's 3 minutes or 5 minutes. The next person gets to enter the match. It's 1 person from each team. But obviously, one team's always got the advantage because it's either 2-on-1 or 3-on-2 or 4-on-3. You can't. No one can be eliminated from the match until everyone's in, can they? So.
Are you going for the good guys then?
Yeah, put me down for Team
Ripley,
just because I think it then opens the door for one of them to challenge, eventually take the belt off Baszler.
I am going for Team Baszler on the basis that it's maybe head versus heart of a deal, on the sense that she's got a triple threat match against other champions the following night, and I think it'll make her look like crap if she loses.
Yeah,
so that's my logic behind that. And by the same logic, I'm picking Undisputed Era
Yeah, I don't disagree with that one.
for the men's.
Although the only way I could think it would go the other way is depending on who the last man is in the team.
Oh, it's absolutely simple.
No, if they're bringing him back, trust me, they're not bringing him back the day before the pay-per-view.
Well, Triple H keeps teasing this big surprise for Survivor Series weekend. And not how it's weekend.
It could be Triple H.
No, I don't think it will be, but I think he likes to tease that. So you're going for Undisputed Era as well, Paul?
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like I say...
This is where he whacks out his caveat on the table.
Dependent, it sort of is. It's dependent on who
little disqualification coming up.
No, because you can't. It's a no disqualification match. That's the problem.
You mean like Hell in a Cell?
Oh, just like that. Or a big cage.
Then at Rumble weekend, it'll be a War Games match that cannot be stopped for any reason.
Yeah, I'm assuming you wanted us to maybe have a little guess at who the fourth man's going to be.
I want Andy's prediction first.
Oh, I'm with you boys.
Undisputed Era. So we've myself and your good self, Andy, have picked the exact same so far for that. Is only Paul any different? So are we going to issue a point if we get this right?
Too fucking right, because I've got to get my point back from picking the wrong team in the fucking women.
I am, for myself then, writing down
Velveteen Dream.
VD. Yeah. Velveteen Dream. That absolutely needs to be the thumbnail.
I mean... Obviously, there's this... Johnny Gargano is actually injured. What's the injury?
Is it Cam Newton injury?
Or is it Xavier Woods injury?
Or is it Xavier Woods injury?
Well, he's not ripped his tendon from his thumb from playing too much Call of Duty. I think it's a concussion deal. I think it's something head, neck, shoulder related.
Just write Johnny Gargano in my box, would you please?
Okay.
That sounds incredibly wishy-washy to me.
No, I think it is legit. I might be getting bailied myself after this weekend. Andy.
Hulk.
Well, he's just had loads of hardware taken out of his back, brother.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that photograph?
He must have had for back surgery over the weekend, and he had loads of screws and plates and bits and pieces taken out of his back. And there was a picture that he put on Twitter about what looked like about 20 different pieces of metal that had been taken out of his back, and it's like, holy shit.
So, do you genuinely want me to write that in the box?
No.
He always wants one more match, brother. This is hard for you because you don't watch it. It's tricky for me because I barely watch it anymore. Part of me's tempted to say Matt Riddle.
Double duty.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd go to the trouble of pulling him out and then just stick him back in again. I think just to clear that up, Gargano is a legit neck injury.
I'd probably better pick someone else then.
Legit. You know, he's got a movie that his band made coming out.
I haven't even seen any like speculation.
No.
Right, you ready? Kevin Owens.
I like it. I'm not against that, to be honest with you. Unless
and if you're not down with that, Paul's got 2 words for you.
Yeah, I'll stick with Johnny Gargano anyway.
Okay. Well, so I might be getting bailed by the end of the weekend on more than one occasion. Bringing us then to Sunday's festivities. It's the Survivor Series predictions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches on the card at time of recording. Not all of the participants for all of the matches have been revealed either, which does pose a little trickier.
CM Punk.
Too early.
We'll go from one by one, since there's so many, and we'll do the predictions as we go. So let's start with your mate Brock.
Broccoli Rob. So what's he up to these days?
He will be squashing a very small gentleman by the name of Rey Mysterio this weekend. The only bit that really... It's for the title. It's against Rey. Can't see Mysterio winning. But they then throw in, it's now a no holds barred, no disqualification match, which then opens the door for Mr. Kane to make an appearance again. Not the Big Red Machine. His mate Velasquez.
Or do we need to be continuing this story?
There's a reason.
They're tying it up.
Can't we just put it to bed? Because it's a bit...
There is a reason they're doing it. What that reason is, I don't fucking know.
I thought it was to bring Mysterio's son in.
That's what I think. That's what I think the end goal is.
Well,
but they've been dancing around it for.
But I don't think he's main. He won't be main roster really though when he comes in. So if the no DQ, no holds barred thing, then if Velasquez isn't coming in, could it be Dominic?
That's what I think they're moving towards.
So do you think Mysterio's taking the title?
No.
Mysterio is one of them guys where if he wrestles one match a month, he'll be as good as he ever has been.
He's not as good as he once was, but once he's as good as he ever was.
But Lesnar is that type of person that has to be motivated as well.
But it's so fucking annoying because I hate it when people say he needs to be motivated to be in the right mind to do a good match. Why? He's a professional. He should be a professional.
That's the job he's being paid to do.
He should be. He's clearly capable of wrestling because the first go around he was probably one of the best wrestlers in the company. So he's obviously not lost that skill.
You say that, but at the time that he came through, like first go around, as you said, he wouldn't have had as much of the ego that he ended up with. I think as time passes, he's gradually just giving less of a fuck about everybody else.
I get that, but you still got to be professional, like because you're taking another man's body in you're taking another man's livelihood into it.
You think he's lost a bit of size?
Brock. If you look at him if you look at when he first came back in 2012, and he'd obviously just come off his UFC retirement, and he'd obviously decided, well, I don't really need to be in shape anymore because
it wasn't just that though.
I'm not getting my face caved in.
It was a diverticulitis thing as well, wasn't it?
And if you look at him then compared to how much he got in shape for his WrestleMania match against Triple H, nearly a year later, polar opposites. And then obviously since then he's sort of kept in pretty good nick. But I think he's as big as he probably ever was, muscle wise.
Regardless of even if he has lost a bit, he's going to look like an absolute giant this weekend, seeing as it's Mysterio.
Yeah.
Maybe you've stumbled across their secret formula for doing it to keep him looking massive.
Yeah, I think Brock will win, but there'll be some shady stuff going on.
He's struggling.
I am struggling because I got a...
Ooh, this is where it changes.
See, I'm... There's going to be something. Whether it is... Because I wonder whether they're working towards a tag team. A Mysterio...
Ray and Dominic.
And Dominic tag team. Like, high-flying, acrobatic tag team sort of thing. Further down the line. But are they going to start bringing something like that in now? So is Dominic going to turn up? Or is it going to be, is Cain Velasquez going to turn up?
I think his son's the red herring in this because he was almost like a vehicle for the story rather than the story.
Yeah, because it does seem to have gone a little bit quiet in that area.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think he's ready for it either. So that's where I sit with it. But
They love a David and Goliath is the issue. So what makes sense from that perspective is Mysterio wins.
So what are you going with?
Stick me down for Brock.
For the points, Brock.
I feel like I'm going to live to regret that.
Why? We've all gone for the
Yeah,
same.
if you do, we all will. So.
Just, I don't know.
Okay. Another title that's on the line, the Survivor Series.
Is this one?
Well, aside from the pay-per-view predictions championship, we have the newly minted Blue Universal title. Bray probably has the Fiend, let's be fair, versus Daniel Bryan.
Why?
Because they set it up on SmackDown with about 20 minutes notice. It seems to be that I would have thought that normally on Survivor Series it's always champion versus champion, SmackDown versus Raw, because they've got NXT involved this time. I don't think anybody would have wanted to have seen Lesnar kill Daniel Bryan, kill the Fiend, or Adam Cole. I think they've made 3 separate title matches almost to protect the Fiend, because Brock wouldn't have taken that loss to a gimmick character, I don't think, personally. That then they're just starting to heat the Fiend up with the title and all the rest of it. Don't think they'd want to stop that momentum, and they've got that brand to build on Wednesday night. So I think that's purely a protection deal. And as such, because he's only just had it, I'm sticking with Bray.
I'm all about the Fiend.
Okay.
All about the Fiend.
Paul?
If you had to, other than there's absolutely no chance Bayley wins this match, what would you say is the phrase that I've used on this podcast the most?
I don't like hot potato with the titles.
Okay, so
He doesn't like hot potato with the
Go on,
titles.
Bray.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Right, so how many times since the start of the year has that title changed hands? So Lesnar had it for ages.
Yeah. Then it went to
So Rollins won it at WrestleMania.
Mania. Yeah.
He
Lesnar
then lost it
Extreme Rules.
back to Lesnar at Extreme Rules.
Back to
Rollins at
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
Then all the way through to...
Then was it then till Wyatt?
Yeah.
So it's already changed hands 4 times in the space of just over 6 months.
Yeah.
It shouldn't change hands again until at least WrestleMania. Still don't trust the company not to do it.
So, Bray.
Yeah.
Alright. So we'll tie off the title matches. So we all thought Pete Dunne was winning. If it ends up being Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne, or Adam Cole versus whoever.
That would be the Homer Simpson jizz noise, or whatever it is. Seriously. If the get the
Welcome to podcasting in
If
the
it-
club style.
if it ends up as that, hands down, match of the night.
If they give him the time.
If they're
It'll
allowed
be
the
good,
time,
however it is. But
if they're allowed between 20 minutes and half an hour / longer, it will be the match of the evening. I had to think about this the other day. This would be the perfect way to get the whole Undisputed Era up to the main roster. That would be the case if NXT wasn't on network television now. Because they basically are there as the face of that brand. Moving forward for the next 6 months, whatever. So, I think Adam Cole will retain.
okay.
But if they were going to move Undisputed Era up, it'd be awesome to see Pete Dunne take over the mantle as like the new face of NXT.
I feel like something's twitching that we've said Adam Cole about 4 times and not once has somebody gone baby afterwards. Anyway, who you got?
It's all good.
Adam Cole for me.
Adam Cole as well?
Yeah.
God, I'm annoyed at myself that I've not watched more NXT, because I feel that even if it's just to watch his matches,
If
it would be worth putting in the time
if it makes you feel any better about it, I'm annoyed that you haven't watched more as well. So, I guess moving on to the story of Survivor Series, the battle for brand supremacy. Let's just do it. Let's get through it. Let's go with Paul's favourite female superstar, because there is absolutely no way we could miss this match. Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, versus Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, versus Shayna Baszler, the NXT Women's Champion.
This is a tough one for me. Because, strangely enough, of the three, the one who can probably afford to take the loss the most is arguably Baszler, because she's been the champion for longest. Mm-hmm. So she needs to sort of be shown to have at least a little bit of vulnerability about her, for me. So it should be her that loses the match, but I don't know which one of the other two benefits the most from winning the match. So that makes me want to pick Baszler to win it.
That took a turn.
As stupidly roundabout as that is, she's the one who can afford to lose the match the most, but I think she'll win it anyway.
I have a feeling, horrible feeling, for our predictions, not for the pay-per-view, that it very much depends on what order they put the matches on the card, because I think they'll want the shock value of an NXT person winning the first one to kind of like throw it all up in the air. Mm-hmm. So that worries me slightly about where it's all going to fall. I agree with you about Shayna Baszler. I think it's about time she was somewhere closer to losing that title. Mm-hmm. Somebody else needs to have a go now. But I disagree with you about out of the other two, you don't know who stands to gain the most. Becky Lynch has had an absolutely landmark year, and essentially, as we record, we're about a year and a week after the broken nose incident where she got punched in the face.
Oh yeah, shit, I'd forgotten. I'd completely forgotten about that.
And ever since that moment in time, she's just been on the up. Like, that all happened, main event of WrestleMania and multiple pay-per-views afterwards. Obviously,
what was going to be? Does anyone anyone remember what the sort of like creative was going to be? Was she going to beat Ronda? I don't think she was she?
I think
because at that point, obviously, Ronda not lost.
Not at Survivor Series, I wouldn't have thought, but I would have thought they were still ultimately aiming towards the same match that they ended up having, but it would have just gone a different way.
Yeah.
I think at this point, Becky Lynch doesn't stand to gain anything from winning it. Mm-hmm. I think Bayley does, because she's got the new character. She's probably the most underrated out of all of the three that are in it for me. So I think she stands to gain the most. I'm picking Bayley.
Stay me down for Shayna. Oh, we've given you the chance now.
To go the other way.
Yeah, get all those bases covered.
I'd love to.
But there's absolutely
no way that Bayley's losing this.
You going with Bayley as well?
I am.
There's absolutely no way. Seriously, I just... You know that people say things and then like everyone else ends up saying that's going to end up on your tombstone.
Yeah, at this point in time, I'm wondering if we can legitimately get away with like WWE branding t-shirts, or whether we will get.
The thing is, I should wear it and make sure I'm at an event where she's there, and I'll just go like that. Try and get standing behind her, like on the camera, just like.
Was it you? Who was it that sent the thing through this week about that she's not allowed to actually wear the title?
Oh, have you seen this?
So I saw it, but didn't see what it was. I saw it had popped up.
On
the way that a t-shirt runs is obviously it's BAYLEY, and what's the title? It's just two huge W's.
Made to look like one huge W.
Made to look like one huge W. So if you read that moving downwards, that would be... Go down the middle, so B-A-Y, L-E-Y, and then what's on her chest? What's on her belly?
Free advertising there, isn't
There
it?
you go.
It's one of them weird conspiracy theories that's popped out there because Vince McMahon was worried about it.
You'd be cracking the bubbly on that one, wouldn't you?
I did think that was funny though. We've got a three-way match, which Paul said the Adam Cole versus potentially Pete Dunne match could be match of the night. This could also be a strong contender.
Oh yeah, Styles, Nakamura, Strong. Stiff.
Again, this falls into that bracket of where it comes on the card for me.
Yeah.
If this match happens first, can I caveat it?
I reckon. Do you know what? I think you're absolutely right in that. I think they're going to want to start it off strong, literally, with a case of let's. Obviously, as it goes in, everyone's going to be thinking NXT or poor little sort of like, you know, for want of a better phrase, redheaded stepchild. Are you saying that I'm not really my parents' son?
Special guest next time, Paul's dad.
Well, bear in mind, there was talk that it wasn't even going to be these three. Because everyone was saying that Brian, there was going to be like a match where Brian was going to beat
Springer.
Do you know what?
Who's the father?
Stick me down for Strong.
He's going for
And
it.
I reckon, ironically, he'll pin AJ to win the match.
Paul's saying ironically because he's had a sneak peek over my shoulder and I've already written AJ down in the column for me.
I'm with this guy.
It has just dawned on me, I've currently got, for the battle for Brand Supremacy, NXT smashing it across the board. So...
But that, to me, makes quite a lot of sense. If they're trying to build this brand, like you said, you know, we work with somebody who is a massive fan that didn't really know anything about it. Now's the time with this battle for the brand sort of thing. It's perfect for it.
I think with the
Absolutely perfect.
I think with the hardcore generation, if you were to ask him, do you see yourself more as a WWE fan or an NXT fan? I think at the minute the majority would probably say NXT over WWE because it's for the last year, 2 years, possibly even 3 years, it's had the more compelling storylines. It's had the better
It still feels
action.
a bit more niche though, doesn't it?
It still feels more like an independent, but under the WWE umbrella.
And in the age of the hipster,
That is very much what
people
it feels like at times. Yeah.
You mean
it's
like
the farmer's market of the wrestling.
you mean like you'd have a day out on the wanky beers and then go and watch NXT?
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
Whilst eating smashed avocados and...
On pitta.
Wholemeal pitta. Wholemeal gluten-free pitta. Is that... Can you even get that? I don't know if you can get wholemeal
As long as it's
flour.
vegan, I don't care.
If you're listening to this over...
So wholemeal, gluten-free, vegan... There was another one that I was going to say.
He's basically just reading off Daniel Bryan's recipe book right now. So.
There was another one. I found it. I've lost it. I was going to say not. I was going to say dairy free, but transgender. Wow.
With coconut milk.
Yes, with coconut milk
Soy,
or
please.
almond milk.
Almond, as somebody in our office.
Almond.
What are you doing? Anyway, moving on to the tag match. That's champion versus champion versus champion.
Le Champion versus Le Champion versus Le Champion.
The Viking Raiders, the New Day, and Undisputed Era.
I unfortunately think this is where the NXT run will sadly come to a crashing halt, as I think it will be the Undisputed Era that takes the pinfall in this one. 2, I feel it's imperative that they get the Viking Raiders over more so than they have been recently.
Right.
Have I just literally given the complete opposite of what you think there?
I think he's full of shit, more than normal.
Go on.
again, with the match positioning, I think this will be the one that opens, which is why I've been predicting the way I have so far. So I think that they quite honestly could not give a toss about the Viking Raiders on the basis that they've changed their name 3 times since they've been in the company. The Raw tag titles currently mean absolutely nothing. But
is that not the point though? Because they mean so little, you want to give them that kick up the arse to give them like more of a.
When they've spent the last 3 or 4 weeks plus on Raw trying to build the Authors of Pain, who are blatantly going to come in and just take the titles from them, I don't think they'll be winning this match. However, having said that,
aren't you going to look silly with that egg on your face?
They're 2 big dudes. Neither of them are going to take the pinfall. Somebody from Undisputed Era will pin.
Big E.
Nope. Former WWE champion Kofi Kingston.
Right, if that is the case, that guy might as well just say, do you know what? It's been an interesting 10 years. Can I have my release, please? Because the way he started the year, no offence to any of the people in this match, that guy should not be getting pinned on TV by anybody.
You're taking it too seriously. Because it's not for the titles. It doesn't really mean anything. But yet it still somehow manages to get over the fact that NXT have got a point on the board early doors. Is that because I'm right, or...?
Well, you might be right. You might be talking out your fucking ass.
Well, it's been said before, I'm sure it'll be said again.
VR, baby.
Viking Raiders for Paul.
Yes, please.
Mr. Cook.
Viking Raiders for me as well, please.
See, Andy gets it, you see, Stu, that you need to build these things. You need to build your tag teams.
So, the meat, if you like.
Hang on a second. When the Viking Raiders won the NXT tag title, didn't they beat the Undisputed Era?
So maybe the Undisputed Era own one.
Just saying.
This is where it gets a little more sketchy for the time being.
Oh, God.
At time of recording, we have no NXT teams announced for these matches, which is bizarre. So, as they keep they keep seeming to enjoy saying on TV, we've got a traditional Survivor Series 5-on-5-on-5 match. Firstly, its traditional one is 5-on-5.
So, that is going to be an absolute nightmare to shoot. So you've got 15 people to get around the ring, and they've got to be in a corner. Good luck, that.
We've currently, for the women's match, had the Raw team announced as Charlotte, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and back from the realms of obscurity, Sarah Logan.
Oh. Has she been injured?
I'm not sure where she's been, but I have a feeling she won't even see the match.
Interesting.
I think she'll get replaced somehow.
Is it an elimination match?
Survivor Series rules denote it will be an elimination match. The SmackDown team, Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans and Nikki Cross. Was absolutely convinced until this match was announced that Lacey Evans was on Raw still. Missed that completely. And as we mentioned, no NXT team. I would imagine...
Hang on a second. No Bliss?
No.
Interesting. I think that will come back to play a part in the match.
As in, she might swing into the NXT team, possibly?
No.
Oh, okay.
As in, she will win the match for...
Raw? Have I been moved back again?
Technically SmackDown?
Who's she replacing in that side?
She isn't. She's going to help
Dana
Nikki
Brooke,
Cross.
Dana Brooke is the answer to that
I
question.
see.
That happens.
It's not like he's thought it through or anything.
Well, no, not until you said it.
Stick me down for SmackDown to win the match because of interference by Alexa Bliss.
I'm going to put Alexa in brackets underneath, yeah. I'm a bit, confused as to who was going to make up the NXT team on the basis that most of the NXT women the night before will have been involved
absolutely
in the
knackered themselves. I think we should heavily caveat this with if the teams are like announced on the day of the show, we're allowed to make changes based on the teams. Potentially, because if we don't know who they are.
I'm going to... One name from the NXT Women's Division that's been missing, that's been in and out of the should she qualify for the team or not kind of a deal, has been Dakota Kai. So I won't be surprised to see her turn up at this. Currently, I have the matches split at 1 each. The other thing is that there are 5 matches for brand supremacy to be split between 3 brands. So, for there to be a clear winner,
Pre-show.
if they throw some more stuff at it, I think they're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be 3-1-1, and this is where it's a bit like, I don't know. I think of all the people, I think Paul's right with what he said. I think Sasha Banks needs a big win, to get her right back up there. But I'm not confident with the rest of that team.
The only thing is that back in the day, whenever they used to do these like SmackDown, Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series, it always seemed to be SmackDown that used to get the sort of the rub.
But wasn't it last year that Raw had the clean sweep though?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Sure it was. Anyway, to cut my very long-winded explanation short, I'm going to go for SmackDown because overall I think SmackDown are going to win, which will throw it to where we're going next.
Stick me down for the Raw ladies, if you wouldn't mind.
The Raw ladies sounds like an entirely different program. So to tie it up, the final one we've got to predict is again a Survivor Series 5-on-5-on-5 match, where we have no NXT team announced still. Raw team currently, as announced, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Ricochet. And the SmackDown team is Roman Reigns, the man who has managed to magically regenerate his first name, Mustafa Ali, Braun Strowman, Baron Boring, and Shorty G.
That's so rude.
It's still a bad gimmick, but the kid's working with it, so fair play to him.
How dare you take the good name of our royal saviour, King Corbin?
Oh, sorry, I assumed you were talking about Shorty G. Didn't realise you'd want to go back to your favourite.
Oh, God, can you imagine if he's the sole survivor? Jesus. Funny you should say that.
The unfortunate thing is, as mentioned in the last thing, I'm picking SmackDown, and I think that will happen.
Do you reckon?
He will be the winning member of that team. And I'm using the word member in a dual purpose. Because he is an
right,
absolute...
so the worrying thing about that is that indicates to me that he could possibly be earmarked as the next person to challenge Bray at the Royal Rumble.
Which will be fine, because Bray will kill him and I don't care, so that's cool.
I see.
Because he ain't winning the Rumble.
Or is he?
No.
At this point, I honestly don't... Like, the Rumble this year could be the most open one ever. I don't think, because normally around this time of the year, there's a pretty clear favourite. Like, at this time last year, it was pretty obvious that Rollins was going to be the man. Ironically. But for me, there is no clear Rumble favourite at this point.
The hopeful part of me...
Drew? Owens? To win the Rumble?
The hopeful part of me is Owens. I'd like it to be Drew McIntyre if it's not Kevin Owens.
I just think, well, although saying that, McIntyre's on Raw, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd never have a McIntyre versus Lesnar main event. It would never work.
Lesnar's not forced to have the title.
Yeah, but who's going to take it off him? Rey Mysterio? Sorry. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, aren't we? I don't really want to pick this until I see the NXT team.
Well, you're going to have to, because that's why we're here.
Oh, you fucking slag.
Do you have a pick, Andy, seeing as he's...
Being a fanny?
The first team,
Cheers.
the Kevin
Raw.
Owens.
That's the Raw team.
Rollins, McIntyre, Owens, Orton, Ricochet.
I mean, Randall's there, isn't he? So it's a win.
On paper, if nothing was to change between now and the weekend, regardless of the NXT team that's announced, that will hands down be the best team on paper. The issue, as you brought up before, is Kevin Owens still going to be on Raw, or will he defect? Could that be the massive surprise that Triple H is talking about?
It seemed to be from
Oh, God.
from the video I saw the other day. It was supposedly Triple H announcing that Kevin Owens was going to NXT.
Everything I'd seen building up to this week has been Willy won't he, in the sense of
Willy.
Triple H wrestling for the NXT team.
Do you reckon it's happening?
From the stuff that I'd seen, it sounds like it's been touted, but he personally isn't keen on it. How true that is, no idea.
Is it mainly because he can't guarantee that he'll wrestle and not, like, rip his arm off his fucking socket or something like that?
Me as a fan, not really interested in seeing him wrestle for NXT. Everybody knows he's in charge, but in the same end, I don't want to see Vince McMahon come back and crack one out for the Raw team. Do you know what?
I think the idea, though, is that, like, fair enough he's in charge, but is it not that idea of if he is going to wrestle, it's that case of leading from the front, showing that he's, whilst he is the leader, he's, one of the boys still, etc., etc.
I still when I gone back to that interview we did on the wrestling podcast.
Triple H?
Yeah.
Recently or a while?
Recently.
So the thing on the pilot episode of Backstage, was it? Where he was on the screen and they were talking to him.
No, he was sat across a desk from somebody.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Can't remember.
Isn't there an official WWE podcast at this time?
Yes, there is, and he was on the first episode. Yes, he was.
After the bell?
Yes.
Still not. And I said at the time, I was like, he looked unwell. He looked exhausted. He looked pale.
He won't be sleeping more than like 3-4 hours.
So winning the match then, yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know about this one. I really don't know about this one.
Well, you could pick the NXT team, and then we've got one of each so far.
But I mean, like, the way that I've picked it so far, I should really be picking Raw here. Because so far I haven't got Raw winning anything.
Because you hate freedom.
I don't want to pick Raw. I also don't want to pick SmackDown.
NXT all the way then.
But you also just want to pick...
But it's all dependent on who the NXT team is. And it could be that no one wins. It could be that something just massively like weird happens.
Does it not feel really strange that there are two matches that have two missing teams?
It's unfortunate for us because of the way it's fallen in terms of recording, because I would have thought that a good portion at least of the two teams will be announced between now and the time that Survivor Series
NXT's on tonight in America. I'm technically on the... Is it live on the network?
No, it's good. Well, not for us. It goes up the day after on the network.
So technically we'll know who the team is.
Potentially.
In theory, by tomorrow. For NXT. Might actually go out on my...
within 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. I need to go out on my way to actually watch it this week, I think. Before the shenanigans kick off on Saturday. Oh, this is very difficult. See, without knowing the team,
I feel like you might have said that.
I'm just looking at it and like, I'd feel a lot better about it if there was someone in the SmackDown team who'd had a massively long stint in NXT as like a big player.
You mean like there is that person in the Raw team in Kevin Owens or Drew McIntyre
Or Ricochet.
or Ricochet or Seth Rollins?
So, like,
3 of the 5 in the Raw team have been NXT champion.
yeah. And one was the North American champion. I think just because of how strongly they've been pushing NXT on the TV shows, I'll go for NXT on this again. Because there was always this sort of like invasion sort of like feel to NXT for little bits and pieces here and there. And it kind of felt like they were a bit nervous to pull the trigger on it, and I feel like they might be trying to do it now. And like almost have them as like a sort of a larger version of the Nexus.
Mm. I know. I get that. I feel like they're almost doing that thing though where they've had them strong for the last however many weeks, so somebody else will win.
Yeah, I won't be surprised to see that. Yeah, I'll stick with NXT.
So that would have you down as
NXT winning 4 out of the 5 matches. I've gone fucking mental here. 3 out of the 4 matches. 3 out of the 5
So yeah,
matches.
you've got it 3-1-1 to NXT.
3-2.
Viking Raiders are on Raw.
Ah, thank fuck for that.
So Andy's got Raw winning 3-1-1. I've got SmackDown winning 3-1-1.
Ooh! Oh, what is Matt going to pick here? Matt's predictions could just scupper everything.
Well,
so he'll probably go for Mysterio to win, Daniel Bryan to win.
Just so you know, if
Becky Lynch to win.
As Matt listens back to this part, he's definitely going to be shouting at his phone or his radio or whatever he's listening to this on. Because of you. Okay, so that pretty much, on that very fine note, brings us to the end of this weekend's festivities. Anybody else got anything else?
As usual, I have nothing. Seems like they took the only thing I care about in the entire world from me.
What are you talking about?
It's coming home anyway after...
Oh! What, you think I'm going to win? You also think I'm going to win the prediction?
No.
That's so kind of you.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's just a good job that we didn't do it with a red strap on, otherwise it would clash every time you won.
I mean, don't say the phrase strap on. Jesus. Christ.
I think that is the absolute perfect way to finish. And now I've just said those words, and the perfect way to finish.
It just keeps on going.
Can we just...
It's the gift that
It should just cut to black. It should just fade to cut to black. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. If you've got predictions, if you've got thoughts, send them in. Let us know what you're thinking. If you think we're talking absolute nonsense,
don't send
please.
that in. The mailbox can only take so much.
If you think Paul's talking nonsense, don't send that in. We already know. It's fine.
Tweet him.
Or Insta now. I've managed to get myself on the Insta.
I blocked you.
You could block me, you could follow me. You'd still get the exact same amount of feed from me, because I probably won't update it ever.
There was a distinct lack of
anything. I've just seen that Panas has followed me, so I had a look at his thing, and it's just one picture of the Forest logo.
Definitely doesn't use it to stalk.
To be honest, it looks like it's going to be the exact same reason I use Twitter, to catch up on stuff, but in picture format.
Should be a bit easier for you then, yeah? Right.
Right, kids.
You good?
Thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Tune in, enjoy the wrestling. We all do. It's great.
You're really selling that, Paul. I'm really looking forward to this weekend, especially with the takeover.
So there you go. What do you think to that? Have you got your predictions in for the upcoming events? Let us know in the comments. YouTube watchers, make sure you're YouTube subscribers, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. Everybody jump over to the Cookiecast.com, check us out over there, send us some love, and all the good stuff that goes with that. So there we go, another one done, prepared for the upcoming events, and until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.